What comes to mind when I say architect?
Creative.
Floor plans.
I see them as really nerds, they're smart people.
Buildings.
Drawings.
Space.
Initially, what came to mind for me was not dissimilar. The words drawing, built environment, and Wolof. But what proved to be true after spending time with two architects were the words oversubscribed, job insecurity, and multi-hyphenate. Welcome to Nothing Works But the People, a podcast about work and working people in South Africa. I'm your host, Pheladi Sethusa. This podcast is about spending a shift in the shoes of some of the people that make up our labor force to get an idea of the toll, skill, and intricacies of their roles. Putting into sharp focus the fact that no job is easy. When one thinks of architects, an image of intricate 3D molds, drawings of floor plans stretched across desks, and a quiet setting may come to mind. But the reality is quite different.
I've been very lucky because always chasing and hustling and being desperate and all those things. But in the beginning of this year, or the end of last, I was very lucky to get projects close to where our family home is.
Okay.
And just within, so we have 3 projects just within this little, it's really
area.
nice. So don't have to travel far. It's nice.
That's Steven Sotiriou, the director of Urban Signature Architects. We were on our way to a site visit in Saxonwold, where a house renovation project was underway.
Hello,
Hi,
Steven.
Neil, pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, yeah, I'm the landscaper.
Stephen meets his
great.
client and the potential landscaper before walking through the house to see what's changed since he was last there.
So I haven't been here for a week, and it feels like lots has happened.
Yes, the house is almost done.
I hope
It's
so.
almost done.
That means almost done means you want your payment finished.
Oh, yes.
I noticed some rendered drawings and floor plans stuck up onto the wall. I asked Stephen how married he is to his original idea and vision.
It evolves all the time. It really does evolve. Obviously, we have like a 3D sense of space and what the intention is, but the reality, the practicalities, the cost, the personalities, as you got a little glimpse of it. Everyone, we've made a decision, I've done a drawing, I've designed it, I've showed it to them, we've done this whole journey, and it just takes something like that.
He's referring to another contractor who suggested some things that would take quite a bit of work to get done. Work that undoes some of the work Stephen's already done.
I've realized the older I've become, the more time to do this, it needs to evolve. It evolves. If you become precious about it, then it's more about me and less about them, and it's actually about them and their investment, and I need to guide that process as best as possible.
Even in its unfinished state, the house is stunning. It's a spacious 4-bedroom home on a sprawling property with one-of-a-kind black steel door and window frames. In the front garden, a tennis court, and in the back, a treehouse and a zip line for the kids. But it's a heritage home.
So part of the process in these in the neighborhood that we're in at the moment, so most of these houses are heritage houses. Well, they're classified as heritage because they're older than 60 years old. So anything after 60, that's all it takes, which is pathetic. So a house now in Bersonia, which was built, I don't know, maybe in the 60s, is now classified as heritage.
Wow.
Only 60 years. Literally, you look on the drawing when when the drawing was issued, and it has a date, and then you add 60. And if it's before 2026, it's a heritage house, which is ridiculous.
Okay.
So, in that scenario, you then, before doing council submission, which is a pain and a half, you have to submit to heritage. An added layer on top of our existing, which is now more time and more cost.
I thought there was a lot more into what council classifies as a heritage building in terms of like historical significance and.
That's the correct way to process it. So there are some buildings which are classified as heritage which have a blue plaque, which is about the architect, which is about the obviously its value, maybe who's lived in it, It's cultural heritage. But also under that banner is if it's older than 60 years. You still have to do exactly the same hoops. And that's exactly what this pack is. On top of it, they don't even account for all these new hoops that we have to do. Like literally doing the association submission, the heritage submission on our guideline, which is given by the South African Council of Architecture Professionals. There is no accommodation for these type of submissions, for estate submissions, for heritage submissions. That's ridiculous.
And you have to do it yourself.
It's got to get done.
Sure. These hoops for approval were something Sisikelele or Masiki Mlambisa from Imvelo Studios also routinely spends time on the road chasing.
The sites, that's the site office, that side.
Okay.
But I see the main contractor is not here.
Is that who you were meant to see?
Yeah, I was meant to see him and talk to him because the subcontractor is basically he's managing the subcontractor.
Oh, okay.
So they just want to see. So
Sure, this is huge.
Yeah.
What the? It's a house.
Yeah, it's a house.
It's a palace.
It's a palace. Yeah, I mean the sites are pretty big. So
Sure.
I think these sites are about 1 hectare, like 10,000 square meters a site. But literally, this is how far we could go. If you see the excavations at that, brickwork is already in here. All we need is just the NHBRC certificate.
So here is already like the layout.
Yeah, the layout is already The layout is really
How many bedrooms is it?
This is. We're looking at how many? 4 at the top, 2 at the bottom. Yeah, it's about 6 bedrooms.
4 at the top, 2 at the bottom.
Yeah. So it's a 6-bedroom house. Yeah, pretty big. Yeah.
The site he's working on is still in its early stages, but work had stopped as approval from the National Home Builders Registration Council, which falls under the Department of Human Settlements, was pending.
With the NHBRC delaying us and the rains coming, so that means every now and then we have to pump water out of the excavations. And we can't do anything further than this. Because they need to come in and do their inspections.
Do they measure that like things are measured accordingly, or what do
Yeah,
they
they want to
for?
see if the house is positioned as per the plans and everything.
Okay.
In 500 meters, stay to the left.
Masiki explains the lifespan of a building project. I suppose I didn't quite expect it to be this hands-on, being an architect.
So a lot of architects run away from this administration phase of the project. So the way our services are structured, we provide our services in 6 stages.
Okay.
So you've got stage 1 up until stage 6. So stage 1 will be your inception, where you put the brief together with the client and everything else. Stage 2 will be your concept and viability of the project. Putting together the concepts, putting together the viabilities, just doing your due diligence.
Okay.
Making sure the project is viable. And stage 3 is design development. that's where we now have decided. We've looked at the costings, roughly, and we've looked at the concepts. Project is viable, client is happy, we're proceeding. So now we're developing the design. That's stage 3.
Okay.
And then stage 4 is now the council authorities. That's where you need to submit drawings to council, and that's split into 2. 4.1 and 4.2. So 4.1 is where you're submitting to council. 4.2 is when you're producing construction drawings that they can take out and go to tender with.
Okay.
Right. So most architects stop there, because now stage 5 is where you get involved in terms of site inspections. That's where you get involved in overlooking and administering the project. So that's where now you become really, really hands-on, as in like you're on site as well. And then stage 6 is where once the project is done, everything is built, then you compile all the specification, all the documents, all the certifications and everything, create a file, and then you hand it over to the client. And then the project is done.
I wouldn't even check now, at least every day, at least 5 emails looking for a job.
And you just can't afford to actually hear them out. While construction is one of the formal sector industries that has seen some growth in the last few months, the industry is not immune to South Africa's growing unemployment crisis.
Say since 2016, right? I think that's where I started working for myself formally, 2016. Started my own company, and then I've got a friend who also is an architect who was running his own company. So we used to collaborate quite a lot, right? And then 2018 we decided, okay, cool. Instead of doing this whole collaboration thing, how about we just start one entity, which is Imvelo Studios. That's the one that we're running right now, and then we run it from the same base. We started out of the Pretoria office, Joburg office, but now it was pretty much we're partners, like 50%. Right, and then we've been through our ups and downs. We've had big teams, small teams, depending on what the economy and the market is looking like. At some point, I remember there was about 8 of us, and this is about 2-3 years ago when we were in Pretoria. This was now trying to build after COVID. 2018, we registered the company formally. We started working together from then. Started working from Pretoria, and then COVID hit 2020. Obviously, everyone is like now chilled. We're at a place where we can't work from the office. Everyone is working from home. And we took a knock financially, so we had to cut in terms of the numbers within our team. On the other side of COVID, I think it was just me, him, and probably just 2 other people. Yeah, which was the admin lady really, and a project manager, like somebody who was just going on site. That went on for about 2 years, I think, and then we took a slump again. This was now like 2 years ago or something like that. So once we took a slump,
Is it like a market-related thing, or?
It was. I would say it was market-related, because the market, it was just not recovering as fast as it needed to recover. After COVID. I think it's only now that we're starting to see movement within the construction industry in terms of, okay, cool, there's a positive tick, there's a positive uptake to the projects and everything else. But after COVID, it was pretty much you were trying to grab onto whatever it is that you would grab onto. There were a lot of pipe dreams as well, because our pipeline was pretty pregnant with a lot of projects that never materialized, which is why our number went from like 3 to 8 quickly, in anticipation of all these projects that we thought that were going to happen.
Steven only has 2 employees, and even that is tough to manage.
It's my biggest pet peeve with architecture is that mostly, if you're not a company of 10 and up, mostly everyone's running illegal software. So I know this sounds like a loose little we're just not paying for Microsoft 2-3 grand. For our software, it's per user. So I have 2 staff, let's say. We have 2 staff. Per user for this program, for us to do our clever little program, 60 grand. Minimum.
Like a year.
Per year. So 2 humans, and actually 60 is not fair. I think it's 75. I'll check. I pay it in December. Per user. So last year in December is the worst for me because that's when ours expires. That's so obviously the easier approach is just to go the illegal route. Breaks my soul. I'm trying so hard. And I have. I'm managing to pay for that. But I'm coming at a compromise. So now either I have to charge more to be able to deal with that, but I'm not making more. Or I need to do, so I'm either charging more to pay for it. Option 2 is I need to get in and out. I need to get a project, make it disappear.
It takes about 6 years to study to become an architect. Steven works part-time at the University of Johannesburg, molding some young hopefuls.
Our salaries are low. All architects, between 15, if you get 35, you creaming it. I'm not getting 35. I'm in 20, 15.
And when you add your lecturing, does that help a little bit?
So that's my only extra. So that's why then ultimately I get them 25. That's my side hustle. But that's time work. So then that's how I get 25 per month. That's it. That's wild.
That's ridiculous.
That's wild. That's so wild. And I've done this for 14 years. It doesn't feel like this is a balanced relationship. I think there should be a point in that course where you start choosing which type of architect you want to be so that you can start focusing on it. We're now teaching everyone to do everything, which means everyone's doing everything really mediocrely. Substandard.
But do you think there'd be a place for them to land if they specialize?
Well, at the moment, no one's landing anywhere and they're all vague as everything.
Masiki differs slightly on specialization.
If the market is quiet on the residential side, we still want to be able to have jobs on the office tenant installation side. Yeah. We want to be able to pick up some jobs on the retail side. So you don't really want to confine yourself to one unless you've been running for like 20, 30 years. Like your bigger architectural companies in the industry that are known for shopping centers. Yeah. Exactly. You know that if you go to this guy for a shopping center, you're going to get exactly what you want. But those companies are big enough to actually even charge the kind of fees that sustain them in the long run. With us, you're trying to build a portfolio, so there's a give and take that you sort of do along the way up until you get to a point where you're like, okay, cool, my portfolio is good enough now to actually, I'm in a position of power when it comes to negotiations. So it's a juggle up until you get to that phase.
And he isn't exaggerating when he says juggle.
I'm an all-rounder at this point in time. Yeah, I handle HR, I handle marketing, I handle...
Are you not exhausted?
It's part of the game, hey.
For all their juggling, do they get to pay themselves fairly? The pay scale for an architect in South Africa, according to a 2025 survey by the Pretoria Institute for Architecture, is anything between 30,000 Rand and 100,000 Rand. That's a wide margin. Steven and Masiki have both been in the industry for over a decade.
Look, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. Right. And I think that also comes with experience, right? Over the years, I've come to appreciate that my earnings are fair and they're going up and they keep going up. I think it's like that conversation we had earlier on, that the more experience you have, the more you negotiate from a position of power. When I was starting out, sometimes you get projects just because it's an interesting project. It's an interesting project and it's going to help build your portfolio. And you undercut yourself. But currently I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, cool, my fee rate is going up nicely. And I'm able to communicate and show my value to the client as well. Yeah, because then, as soon as you can communicate and show value to your client, why are you billing them this much? You are in a position of power, and there is a point where negotiations stop
The South African Council for the Architectural Profession, SACAP, has a fee calculator on their website. It assists with estimating how much a project should cost, phase by phase, with professional and technical fees factored in. Masiki shares that his current hourly rate is about 1,950 Rand, but the maths of what actually ends up in his pocket is a little bit complicated.
With business, you are the last one to get paid. Yeah. With entrepreneurship, you're the last one to get paid, especially if you want to run a sustainable business. You've got to respect your staff to start with. You got to pay them on time. You've got to pay them. Because those people are not there because they've got nothing else to do. They're there to get paid. You know? And usually what that means is that whatever is in the kitty come month end, it needs to go to those aspects that you're prioritizing, which is your overheads, which is your salary bill. And then whatever is left after that is now that's you now. One of the challenges in business that actually distracts people is leaving hand to mouth. Because now instead of focusing on the business itself, you're focusing now on the daily challenges and the month-end challenges that you constantly have to sort out.
Do you have like a split where for this job I put this much away and we only pay ourselves from this portion? Like, how do you work that out?
You definitely have to have a split. I think first of all, as a matter of just principle, personally, income, I always try and take 10% or whatever income that's coming into me as a profit.
Okay.
Put that away immediately. All right. That's not even now me thinking about the long term of the business. That's just my own personal savings that I'll do and take and put away. And then after that, it's discipline more than anything else. It's making sure that whatever needed to be paid is paid. Whatever's left over goes onto the kitty. It goes onto the business books. Because you need to save for the rainy days when it comes. It sounds very cliche, but business, it's got business cycles. There's upward cycles, there's downward cycles. And on your upward cycles is where you need to make sure that you're really saving for the rainy days.
A pivot is often on Steven's mind.
If I go work at another company, let's say like Silo that I'm telling you about, I'll probably get a standard salary of 30, 35. And then I know I work from 8 to 5 and I get that 35 grand, which is better than my 20 running around like a scavenger.
For Masiki, the thrill of no 2 days being the same is a motivating factor.
So man, this thing is like a game as well. So let me see how far or how long it will take me to get to that corner. Once you get to that corner,
At the roundabout,
you're like,
continue
okay,
straight.
how about we get to the next corner? And then you start from scratch again. Pursuing but at a different level.
And that isn't, what should I say, tiring to you?
At the roundabout, continue straight.
That's where the thrill is. That's where, the thrill is in the chase. Getting to the corner is really not. Yeah, it'll give you a level of comfort. Your lifestyle changes. You've got access to different things and different people. But that's where the comfort zone is, right? And that's where you need to quickly move on.
At the roundabout, continue straight.
You can't settle there for too long.
But both are no stranger to exhaustion.
You do get exhausted. Look, it's all about, what they usually say, that when you go out or when people think about entrepreneurship and wanting to start their own businesses, they're thinking now they're going to have more time than they did when they were doing the 9 to 5. Because now they're more in control, right? But in reality, it's true. You end up working 2-3 times the hours that you were working before. Yeah.
And you never leave it at the office?
No, it doesn't stop at the office. When you get home, either you still got action items that you still need to action, or you need to plan for the next day. And remember, with all the running around and the designs and everything, there's still the admin side that needs to be done, which can't be neglected. So most of the time, you try and find the quieter hours in order to get that done. It's still a mountain to climb, you know, in terms of getting a proper routine. Because when there's fires that come up, you're the person that has to go out and take the fires out.
And putting those fires out can often carry a physical or mental toll.
So yeah, but anxiety is part of entrepreneurship, you know, depending on where you are, because you're not gonna get anxiety if you know you're not gonna make money. Excuse me. Yeah. You are gonna get that anxiety.
While both of the visits I had with Masiki and Steven were residential, I'm interested to find out what other projects they've had in the last year.
We do quite a lot of tenant installations for some of our clients. So they own buildings where they've got like government departments as tenants, and there's always churns that are happening. So we assist them from a perspective of now doing the interior office design, and we go through the whole project up until implementation phase. That's where most of the work is coming from now, and then most of the work is also coming from the residential side of things. So what we're finding is that throughout the years, the houses that we've actually gone ahead and designed and built are starting to pay off as well, because sometimes you would get a call from somebody that says, hey, look, I saw a house, I just went in because I like the house, I'm looking to build in the area. And the owner was nice enough to say that, no, this is the architect that actually helped me out with this house. So that side of things is also growing as well.
Alterations to a shopping centre.
Okay.
House, student housing, that's really big. That's what Artist is working on at the moment.
Like the big block buildings.
Massive.
So private student accommodation. Okay.
This is so
It is
ridiculously
big.
big. It's become so that's the one that we're currently
Also,
working
the
on.
students themselves can't afford it.
No, that's why architecture is funny in my mind. So I can have a philosophical point of view even with the clients. Like, I disagree. They want 3,000 beds on this property. I think that sounds, firstly, in relation to the scale of the property and an end, it feels ridiculous. But secondly, I also personally believe that student housing maybe is also antiquated, but this is obviously the client's brief, that's what they want, so I have to do as per
And they're all like shoe boxes.
tiny little box, because that's what I've been told to do. I tried can't we make them apartments so that if the student housing doesn't work, then you can sell them as apartments? No, we want tiny shoe boxes for as cheap as possible and as many as possible. Either I can go, no, that's ridiculous, I'm out. Or I can do, yes, I will do it, yes, sir. And keep the payment going.
In the lecture hall, addressing apartheid spatial planning is on Steven's agenda.
The project that we've focused on for the last 2 years is how sad that architecture is also only seen as and not to make it racial, and let's not make it racial and make it more architecture is for the privileged, let's say. Why is architecture not thought about, considered, integrated into rural spaces? Or how is it? So for the last 2 years, we've focused our project at the end of the year. Our major project is taking it back to the homelands and understanding the context in the homelands. Like, why is there no council submission in that process? How is architecture resolved in that process? What are the parameters in which architecture can add value to an urban space in those environments?
That's a cool project.
it's just this vacant land, this forgotten scar, not even forgotten, this very real scar in our past, which we are just still there. It's a proper scar, but it's not being resolved. So a lot of the buildings that were invested in back then haven't worked. They're just empty shells. No one's investing back in the homelands. How wild is that? So everyone has to come. They are all forced, via the transport mess, to all come and make Joburg work.
Yeah.
So our focus, our theme is about arrival cities and how people arrive in the city, and then we then focus it back at the end of the year to then arrive back at the homeland and what that means.
To bring both conversations back to the present and the future possibly, we turn to the robot in the room, artificial intelligence.
I encourage using AI at every level, so specifically with the students, but even in our office space, you need to be. So the course that I teach is called Interdisciplinary Design, and its focus is about how architecture uses or can work with other disciplines to create architecture, so collaborate on that same trajectory. We spend this whole year learning different mediums of presentation, so from video format to collaging to storytelling, using different mediums to present your ideas, because each medium will give you a different view of something. In that process, we are encouraging them to use these different mediums. AI is another medium which you need to start mastering and understanding. And I don't know, all this Instagram conversation about, master AI. I think this is an evolving journey, and you need to be part of that conversation and use the tool and not be used by the tool.
Don't know about other industries, but there's a lot of mundane services within our processes as architects that if you could get this done quickly and out of the way, that's what we've been looking for a long time. And if AI can replace me having to sit and spend all those hours doing that, then it's a collaboration tool more than anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, because within the architecture, we design for people. We don't design for robots. And you don't just design because somebody has told you that they've given you their wish list, that they want this and that and that and that. There's a human factor that you have to design for. There's emotional intelligence that goes into the designs as well. So no, AI, I don't think it'll kill architecture. There's a couple of tasks within architecture that it'll replace for sure. But it'll only be making things easier for us.
Thank you for listening to this first episode of Nothing Works But the People. We'll be back next week with another episode. Follow us on Instagram under the same name for clues on which industry we might be profiling next. This podcast is hosted, written, edited, and co-produced by me, Pheladi Sethusa. Our producer is Kabir Jugram. Our graphics were designed by Mutsa Kadzizira, and our theme music is Trenchwork by Ketsa. This series is made possible by grant funding from Africa No Filter and is part of their Work Reimagined Story Lab. And our publishing partners are the Currency News. More information and episode resources can be found in our show notes and on our website.